What's up, guys? This is just kind of like a bonus live show that we're doing here. I wasn't feeling terribly productive this morning, and I've got a whole bunch of things that are needing to charge up their batteries, so I figured I have a couple of hours to burn, and I wasn't going to be doing much of anything else anyway. So I figured I'd just do a quick little hangout session. Hopefully everybody else is enjoying their Monday as much as I am. Some Mondays you can just feel it, how it's just not gonna happen, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like I had a pretty busy weekend. Tried to relax as much as I could on Sunday, and yeah, so we're here. I figured like I have the video file already for that live show that I did on Saturday. Had all kinds of weird like technical difficulties, so I figured why not just bust it out again, right? I still have it. I haven't deleted it yet. So there is no form for this show. We're just hanging out. Happy Monday, everyone. Bring the staff in to say hi. I warned the guys. I was like, you know, since like the live show on Saturday was already done, you guys can come in and interrupt me if you need anything. It's totally cool. Just don't barge in dropping the F-bomb about something, because it's like we're live. Don't do it. Becca is over there, hard at work, unlike me. So yeah, things are pretty good, and the guys are going to be doing a lot of packing from. Obviously from the sales of this live show, of which there are still plenty of things available. So once we get started, actually doing I'll show the corals. I'm sure there's plenty still available. I really haven't checked exactly. So I think that there's some available, but like I said, the official show was on Saturday. This is just me killing a couple hours. C&M Aquatics is like bonus show, like Christmas this morning. Yeah. Let's see. Just installed leveling casters on my 210 because of your past videos. I love them. Those things are so cool. I want to put them on everything. For an aquarium, they're like so useful just for the one time that you have to use them, right? Especially if it's a big tank like a 210. But for just about everything else that moves frequently, they just have become a total no-brainer. And the smaller ones are not that expensive. Like the big ones that I'm using, I was getting from Home Depot for like a little over $50 a piece, but they can each hold close to 2,000 pounds. So obviously you don't need that for random furniture. Like if you wanted like a coffee table or a conference table even, you could probably make do with some pretty small ones. Kevin Camp Ice, this live show will self-destruct when the timer's up. Well, yeah, exactly. Usually I miss the timer, so it'll restart. Like everybody like has his countdown in mind, and then I just miss it entirely because I have to manually switch over to the other video to show the corals and stuff. Yeah, Adam, there's no form. We're counting down to the repeat of the live sale. So that's what's going to be going on in the background. Usually I just do this countdown to let people kind of file in, and also just to make sure that there's no weird technical problems, which there totally were on Saturday. And I think I pinned down what the deal was with that. So we upgraded our internet here, and it's still like the most expensive package that we're able to purchase. But the upload speed is a little bit inconsistent, that it doesn't usually top out where I like it to be. So sometimes if the data rate of my upload speed dips a little, I don't have as much headroom because, not to get overly technical, but, excuse me, if you wanted to broadcast at like 6, you need a connection that can deliver 12. You should have it double. So for the past year or so, I was sending 9, meaning that my actual internet connection should be 18, right? But lately it's been 15, and sometimes it dips even lower than that. And that kind of like, I think, made for an inconsistent signal. And the difference between this show and past shows was that maybe about a month ago, I did upgrade my plan. So there's that. Lovely. Chris Roth, is there any advice on Bauer Banky? Got one receding a bit and trying to save it. You could try a couple of different antiseptic dips and then feed the heck out of it. So 2 antiseptic dips that might work out for you. One is iodine. So if you did a search for like my trace element video, I actually talk a little bit about the disinfecting properties of iodine. But the other thing that that I got recently was called Tidal. It's a European thing. Like the one that I got on Amazon, but it got shipped from the UK, and it is a very different chemical disinfectant that works as a really good coral dip, as a matter of fact. We use it mainly to handle like Acropora eating flatworms as an alternative to something like Coral RX. But it is mainly meant to be a disinfectant. So try that first and then see about feeding it. But also you kind of have to pin down why your coral was receding to begin with. Victor Viking, do you have any pink lemonade or strawberry shortcake acros in the making? I think we do. They are probably in small quantities out in the greenhouse, and we just got some through quarantine to get into the systems here in the new building. The problem is with the transition going through quarantine and then into this new system, there's obviously a lot of moving and dipping that went in, and so they're probably all colored down right now, so it's going to take a little bit of time. Okay, we've got roughly 2 minutes, so I need to mental clock, I need to switch over at 2 minutes. And I've said this at pretty much every live show, but sometimes when I make this little switch over, there's like some lag or anything. But it can't be as bad as what we dealt with on Saturday, which was just like crazy skipping. So far things look good. So just the lower data rate seems to have fixed everything. Knock on wood. Stephen Hawk is asking, I have a hang on the back overflow, and there's a lifter pump that's clogged twice in the last month with food. Rough. My question is there some way that I could put a pantyhose material on the gate? I probably wouldn't recommend that too much. Because I think if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, that might exacerbate the problem because stuff is going to get collected on any kind of like filter material like that. Two, please. Can't stay long today. I've got a lot of running around to do. No problem. Thanks for stopping in, dude. Okay, somebody's asking about the aquascape. Is it any closer to getting started with your show tanks? It is getting there, but we were having some issues sourcing. The glue, as I mentioned in that video. Now we've got a few different brands going on here now. We have the original OG stuff, right? Which is like the stuff from Glue Masters. It's the Glue Masters brand. And that kind of gave me like this unrealistic expectation for all the other super glues because it was perfect. Just making that sand and spraying it down with like that Glue Master stuff, it turned solid instantly, like 5 seconds. You had a bond that could hold rock. So I figured, you know, all super glues like this. No, pretty much no super glues like that. We tried this Gravix thin brand, and that was too viscous, so it wouldn't soak into the substrate. So it would just sit right on top, do nothing. So that's no good. And thank you to Please for the $4.99 for a cup of ice cream before I go, please. Hey, we ran out of sugar, but then we got like 1 cup, so we can make some strawberry stuff this afternoon. Okay, so going back to the glue thing, Glue Masters was the best. Gravix, too viscous. Then we got the Star Bond stuff. That was that CPS rating of 2 or whatever. It was watery enough. It soaked into the sand, but it wouldn't hold. It was just very like not even brittle. It just completely fell apart. So like it was like too watery and not enough glue. So then we got the idea. Actually, my dad thought of this, but why don't we just mix the slightly thick stuff with the stuff that's slightly too watery? So we did 2 parts of the Gravix thicker warm honey consistency stuff with the really thin stuff that didn't bond well, and it wasn't as good as the Glue Master stuff, but it did work. So at least there now we have some method of using all that super glue that we bought because we can't return it. Then we tried I guess this would be now the 4th brand. It's the BSI, Bob Smith Industries thin, and that stuff did work. It again wasn't quite as good as the Glue Masters brand, but better than nothing because you can't buy the. So if you guys are wondering, why don't we just buy the Glue Master stuff? It's sold out everywhere. It's sold out on their website. It's sold out on Amazon. Who knows when it's going to come back in stock? But yeah, just check back with those affiliate links that I have on my Aquascape video and kind of keep up to date on that. But if you need something in a pinch now, I would say go with like the BSI thin stuff. Yeah, people are surprised about the Tidal. I never heard of it until just maybe a couple months ago. And at that point, I was like willing to try anything because Acropora eating flatworms, for those of you that have not dealt with it before, they're super annoying because they're so resilient. They ignore a lot of dips for a pretty good long time in the dip. So they'll hang out for about like at least 10 to 15 minutes in the dip, and then they'll start to like fall off, but the eggs don't die, and you have to kind of like stagger some of these dipping sessions over like a couple weeks. And yeah, the Tidal stuff works pretty well for that. Tattooed Dancer is asking, have you tried growing coral under only Blue Plus T5? I have not. Well, is that true? Well, yeah, it's true because most of my tanks are in greenhouses, so they're going to get other spectrums anyway. But I've grown most of the T5s are Blue Plus. So like dominant Blue Plus, sure, yeah. But I've never actually seen a tank that only had Blue Plus. Scott Morrison, hello from Scotland. Hope all is well in these crazy times. Yeah, things are okay, I guess. I'm uniquely situated where my lifestyle didn't change a whole heck of a lot. I think the only thing that really changed for me, luckily, was that I get food delivered. And I'm kind of addicted to food delivery, but it's not that cost effective of an option. But yeah, having like groceries delivered and having like food delivered from restaurants, it has really fed the lazy fat kid in me. So that's really the only thing that's changed, because it turns out that I really like staying home, and this makes it easy to do and not feel like I'm being antisocial. It's like I'm totally not being antisocial. I'm being responsible, and yeah, it's been great. Let's see. I've heard that epoxy glue sandwich was the best way to glue corals. We don't even use the epoxy, we just use glue. But I could see where that could work. In the future, we will be having to use epoxy because we're going to be attaching corals to an existing large aquascape underwater. So we gonna learn. So Gabriel Berkey is asking, would you recommend putting some shrimp in your sump to kind of keep things a little cleaner? Personally, me, no, I wouldn't. I think anything in the sump is always at risk of getting sucked into a return pump or a skimmer pump or something like that, so I tend to avoid that. Like right now, our closed loops that we have in our tanks, even though we have like strainers over them, I think that the strainers, we might have to do something to make them even finer, because we've lost a couple of fish that we purchased, and some of them were like, you know, big tangs, and like a couple of those just like fell over dead. I'm like, why are you dead, right? But by the way, there's a reason why we don't carry fish. It's the most like frustrating thing to have happen. It's like to get fish shipped to you from a wholesaler and have that die. I can only imagine how frustrating it would be if we were then to send fish to a customer and then it possibly die. Like, no way, no way. Like, fish do not handle shipping that well. So anyhow, like a couple of tangs died. A couple of like little scooter blenny type things, they died. I mean, we ordered like 90 fish, so it's not like that many. But then we lost like a wrasse. And not to be too graphic, but it was in like 2 pieces when I found it. And it's like, that's very unlikely for it to have just fallen over dead as a result of stress, and then the other fish picked it apart to the point that it's in 2 separate parts. It's like, that looks like it might have gone through a pump. So again, I haven't like visually confirmed that, but I'm like, just in case, maybe we should find some finer baskets or something like that to stick over these closed loops. I'm having like a weird feeling about that. Because like for a pond, like a screw-in pond filter, you know, you're not anticipating like, you know, tiny little fish. You're probably anticipating like koi or something, right? Because they're pond screens. But in our environment, there are some smaller fish. And sometimes these smaller fish like to like squirrel their way into some tight spots. So anyway, that's something. So to answer your question, Gabriel, no, because I worry about stuff like that happening. Do you have all the tanks in your new building? And I'm sorry I'm not saying your name, I just don't know how to pronounce PPSTHLM. Do you have all the tanks in your new building filled with corals by now, except for the show tanks, or is there still more space? Peter. So Peter, we are getting close. We're getting close. So one system has 4 tanks that are almost full of coral. The show tank is getting there. It's had water for a good long time, but the lights are off. And so what's been growing in there are a lot of those pineapple sponges. Yeah, weird. I don't know how they showed up, but they showed up and there's like thousands of them in there. like a small dwarf angel would have a field day just eating all those sponges in there. But no, we're working on that. Now the second set of tanks are very much underway. Like the plumbers finally were able to carve out some time for us, and they made a lot of progress. I would say that there's just a couple work days left before all of that is plumbed into place. And I'm excited about that system because it's very different. The show tanks, like so the 4 grow out tanks are the same, identical. Same lights, same closed loops, everything. But the 2 show tanks originally were going to be kind of similar. One was going to have its back facing the wall, the other one was going to be a peninsula, but otherwise it was going to be roughly the same. It's going to have the same lights. The closed loop systems are a little different, but now that time has gone on and I've kind of like re-engineered some things, they're going to be really different. I don't want to ruin the surprise until it's actually done, but yeah, the 2 are going to be very different, both structurally, creatively, like everything. And I'm really happy about that. So I'm excited. Hopefully sooner rather than later all that will be happening, but we're waiting on some pieces of equipment, but all the equipment that's needed to get them up and running with water in it is here. It's just a matter of plumbing it all together, which I was, so you saw Nathan on the live show Saturday. He and I were talking like, under no circumstances would we have been able to plumb this stuff. Like, and we've been in the hobby, well, I've been in the hobby for like 30 something years. He's been in the hobby at least over 10 years. And like, he's still gonna do all of his plumbing. But to do the plumbing for this type of project, to get it like perfect, like the way that these professionals have done it, there's no way we could have done that. So yeah, it's just, we will simply wait for those guys' schedule to open up. $2 please, $1.99. I need to keep like a running tally of how much you've donated in super chats. $2 please, very generous of you, thank you. Gabriel, what are you doing regarding leak detection? I'm curious if you have any ideas other than a watchdog alarm like I have. Leak detection. I think that's called having people constantly around. So I've never had like a leak detection sensor. Maybe that would be helpful, because I know that like for a lot of the controllers and now, like you can get that sort of thing. For me, invest up front in a floor drain just in case if you're worried about it damaging your floor. But the other thing is you can also just try as best as you can to build in for that type of thing and have like multiple redundancies. So have like extra drains and things like that. So like fewer things can overflow, if you know what I mean. Nathan, what's up? I was just mentioning you. Another live show. Did you feel that your guest host this weekend ruined the show? No, actually procrastination is why I'm here. I wasn't feeling super productive on a Monday morning, number 1. Number 2, I have some batteries charging, so I wasn't going to be shooting anyway. The guys all have like stuff to do on their own, so they're being super productive. I was just thinking, well, I could definitely kill 2 hours with some fake productivity. And since I had the broadcast file still, I can sit in front of a camera and talk a little bit. But thank you, Nathan, for coming over Saturday. That was nice. Always nice to have some guests over. Can you do an update video on the new farm? I was planning to, and then it turned out some of my batteries were dead, so that's why we're here. Yeah, so technically the sale goes on till Tuesday-ish, Wednesday-ish. We're not in a huge hurry to take them down, but it's right around that time. So there should be a lot of these items still available. we're sending out a bunch of boxes today, but I know that several of these things have like multiples available of stuff. So yeah, I don't think it's picked clean, let's just say. So if you're still in the mood to shop for some stuff, or if you missed the show on Saturday, it's not a total waste of time to have that stuff in the background behind me. How many people are on the live show currently? That's not too bad. I didn't know what to expect. I obviously never broadcast on a Monday morning. Poultry Master. Fan, have you considered setting up a non-traditional reef for one of your show tanks? Yes. Maybe a non-photosynthetic dominated or macroalgae softy dominated. So, yes. The NPS probably is as a non-starter for a larger aquarium, because right now all of our show tanks are large. We're actually waiting on a couple more show tanks to integrate into our tanks downstairs, or into our 2 systems downstairs. So each system will have 4 grow out tanks and then 2 show tanks. There's going to be 2, like each system will have 1 really big show tank and then a small show tank. But the small show tank, I think, is like 250 gallons. So it's not that small. So to do non-photosynthetic in a tank that size might be a little challenging, just because of the amount of food and I guess like detailed feeding that it would take if you have like a thing full of like Cyphastrea or something. But maybe if we at some point had like a smaller tank for non-photo, that might be something. Tough to say. But we do plan to have some sort of like themed aquariums like that. That's one thing that I think is that separates the freshwater hobby from the saltwater hobby, is that in freshwater, I think it's a lot more accessible to have smaller tanks and a lot of tanks. Whereas I think in saltwater, you're kind of like people that, they have like a personal tank, like they have a tank. And what tends to happen is they fill that tank with every coral that they've ever wanted, or every fish that they've ever wanted. And so you end up always ending up in mixed reef land, right? You have like some mix of some stony coral, maybe some SPS, some LPS, maybe a few mushrooms and zoas. It becomes like a seafood gumbo of different types of styles and organisms. And you see a lot of sameness because people have an aquarium. There's very few people that have I have 15 saltwater tanks of different types. Very uncommon. It's like one tank. I got the tank and maybe a frag tank. But I think that having like multiple show tanks gives you the flexibility to really explore, like going hard in on one type of aesthetic, like having a tank that's just anemones and clownfish, having one tank that's just gorgonians and seahorses, having one tank that is just non-photosynthetic. Like that type of thing, I think I'm kind of excited about those options. So the tentative plan right now for our tank, one big show tank will be an SPS dominated reef. That's the one that we're currently building the aquascape for. Another one is going to be more of a mixed reef, but a higher nutrient one with mangroves and stuff like that, because I want to kind of like utilize the airspace above the tank. Another one, I would like to try the anemone thing, and another one would be like that seahorse thing. I just want to be able to experiment a lot with the stuff. And then once we are slowing down the amount of corals that need to be quarantined, we might repurpose one of those quarantine tanks to be another species-specific thing. And maybe at that point, it would make sense to do like some kind of non-photosynthetic thing in something like that. Adam Ernie. Are there any corals that you still struggle to keep? Yes, there's plenty of them. Some of the more delicate acros are always a struggle. Non-photosynthetic anything is always a struggle. There's just certain things that just don't do well. Although not a coral, clams don't like it here. Gabriel, after seeing a price hike, are you seeing a price hike on some livestock? I used to be able to buy a blue tang for $50. Now they're going for around $100 at my LFS. Yeah, there's a real easy explanation for that. Shipping rates have tripled, and the number of shipments are cut way back. So that's just a supply and demand thing on that front. There's fewer stuff coming in, so everything is like going to get charged up, and just to get it in is extraordinarily pricey. So those two things right there is going to cause like a big price hike. So what's kind of good is I think a lot of companies are now taking aquaculture a lot more seriously than ever before, and then they're learning that aquaculture has a little bit of a learning curve to it. I mean, we've been doing it since like day one, when nobody was really focusing on it. This is like back in like 2002, that time frame. And I say no one, I know people were doing it, but like let's be real. It wasn't 1% of the people out there, it was way less. So now they're realizing how expensive aquaculture can be. And that's also going to be driving up prices. Like people think that, like aquaculture, you just cut it. Like on the hobby scale is one thing. On a facility commercial scale is a very different animal. I suspect that a lot of companies trying this for the first time, when they were used to just bringing stuff in and flipping it essentially, those are two completely different businesses. And there is a learning curve associated with that. Like farming is not the same thing as importing. Lithuanian fisherman, have you tried fragging scalimi before? Yes, and we're not going to keep doing that. It's not productive for us. Benefits from working from home. Alex Andonian, catching your spontaneous live show. Yes, thank you for attending. And working from home is awesome. I think the only downside to working from home is, I guess if you have like a stressful work experience, having no separation between work and home could be an issue. But there's a lot of lessons in work-life balance, I think. And I think that having the opportunity to work from home, it's preferable for me, I guess. I love it. I don't know what my staff thinks about that. But yeah, so far so good, I guess. Would you consider starting removing all acroporas if you had acropora flatworms? I'm upgrading and thinking of doing that at the same time to start fresh. Personal choice there. I mean, it's for a home aquarium, I think it's a problem that's beatable. Facility-wide, if you have thousands of gallons, multiple tanks, and also an influx of new acropora constantly coming in, that's much more challenging. And I would be really naive to think that like, oh, we don't have that problem. Because it comes back in like weird ways and unexpectedly, and if there's like a weird temperature change from seasonality, stuff happens. And sometimes like the flatworms aren't always on acropora. They can travel just a little bit. And so you dip all your acros for like 3 consecutive weeks. They seem to be fine. And then it turns out there was one hanging out way over here that comes back and starts laying eggs. And the biggest culprit is new acropora coming in. So if you are always on the lookout for new stuff, bringing that into your coral farm, it's a big risk. Even if you go through the whole quarantine process, they are really tough. Here's the general gist when it comes to pests. If they were easy to take care of, they would not be pests. they would be just something that just came and went. But they are pests because of how tough they are. And they happen to eat your corals. Y'all need to lube the door. Yeah. You know, I don't understand why those doors are so loud. Because this is a new construction. These are new doors, right? They were squeaky from day one. Okay, so here's a question for you guys out there, okay? WD-40, I would argue that that is not a great thing to lube up doors and stuff like that with. Because from what I understand, like WD-40 is like a good, like just like a, I don't know the right word for it, okay? But it is not meant to be a long-term lubricant. It is like a quick and dirty, like cleaner of sorts. And what happens over time is it gets stickier and causes more of a problem. Like I think if I were to do anything with these doors or anything that really required it, I would get like some kind of like really high quality synthetic grease and carefully put that in there rather than WD-40. That's just me though. Like, what do you guys think? Yeah, see, Tyler M is like, don't use WD-40. Yeah, exactly. Like, because I use like, because we have like a really high-end bag stapler and stuff, and so I constantly am using like some synthetic greases and things, and that stuff is like remarkable. Whereas anytime that I've used WD-40, it gets like sticky after a while. Yeah, it's designed to remove water. Yeah, it's water dispersion number 4, formulation number 40. Yeah. White lithium grease. I don't even know what that is. I think the stuff I use is like some kind of like silicon-based one. You can get water-based silicon WD-40. Huh, okay, interesting. The tangents that we go on these live shows, you guys. But this is I better not say it. Well, no, screw it. I didn't name the product. So this synthetic stuff that I have, it's literally called Super Lube. Make up your own jokes. Poultry Master, I think it would be really cool if you guys tried the seahorse display refugium type show tank. Planted marine tanks can be so captivating if they just look so much more alive and natural. So, yes, on the seahorse stuff. Planted tanks in marine, I kind of have like a love-hate going on with that. So the issue that I run into is that the stuff, the sort of environment that's great for decorative macroalgae is also really good for problematic, ugly-looking algae. Now, usually, I don't have a problem with the ugly-looking macroalgae because a foxface or tangs can just effectively eliminate it. Sure, it's not completely gone for your system, but you'll never see it. In a refugium, though, the whole point is you don't have that herbivorous pressure, right? So nothing is eating your beautiful-looking decorative algae. Nothing is also eating that gross-looking stuff. And so guess which one is going to start growing really, really, really well and outcompete the other one? It's never the pretty stuff. 2 please, $1.99. Later, everyone. Thanks, Dan. Enjoy your day. You too, man. Go be productive. See you later. Adam Justice, could you give info on Platygyra, or do you currently have a coral spotlight by a different name? I don't think that we have a Platygyra specific one, but I would treat it like I would any very middle of the road large polyp stony coral. So for example, something that might apply to Favia pretty much will transfer nicely to Platygyra as well. Tony S. Can I purchase corals and you hold? New tank is starting to cycle this weekend. It depends on how long. So usually if it's like a week or two, not the end of the world. If it's like 2 months, it's a little long. I don't know who it is, but somebody has like one open order from like ages ago. And it's like, on some scale, it's like, I really hope that this guy doesn't think that, I don't even know what the expectation is. It's like, did he just forget about his order? And part of me is thinking, well, I have his money, so I guess it's kind of on him to let us know when he wants it shipped. But on the other hand, it's like, I hope we still have those corals. If not, we can always give him a refund, I guess. But it's been like a long time. It's only one guy. Yeah, it's been like months. But at some point, it's like, you know what? I have to do so much babysitting. It's like, I'm not going to babysit my customers too once they've given me money. It's like, at some point, let me know. Let me know. Just saying. Marcus Aurelius 187. Are these the same corals as Sundays? Yes, they are. It's just the same broadcast file. I just threw it on back there. Tyler M. Any tips on ZOAs? I can't seem to grow them on my tank. LPS and other softies do fine, but every ZOA I own just withers away slowly. So there's a couple things that make me suspicious when I hear that. Usually that means something is eating them. It could be something that's like a fish of yours or a crab of yours, but oftentimes they come with their own stuff that likes to eat them, like sea spiders. There are some what are they, pyramid snails? Like, there's a long list, like a long laundry list of things that would be very happy to eat ZOAs. And oftentimes, especially if you have like wild caught stuff, they come pre-packaged with that, like a nudibranchs, whatever. So that's above like any other like tank parameter. When ZOAs aren't doing well, I immediately think of something is eating it. Mr. Beshot 33, do you have wholesale accounts for an LFS to order from you? No, not officially. So we are primarily retail. Like, that is the official government stance, right? We are a retail operation. Having said that, we have sold to some local stores and some local wholesalers for them to then wholesale stuff. So if they're buying mega volumes, they can get some variety of discount. It's more than most store, like an individual store would buy. Now, what would be kind of comparable is that we have these coral packs. And in particular, we have like a 50 coral mega pack. And that is going to be about as close to wholesale pricing as it's going to get here. You guys don't get to choose what we throw into the mega pack, but I guarantee you it's a good value. It's going to be a little bit of everything. There's going to be a few duplicates in there, in and amongst that 50 corals, but you'll do pretty well with it. Now, that's available to everybody. It's a pretty big commitment though. Like for like a home hobbyist to order up the mega pack, it's happened before, it's not too common. Usually the stores would go for something like that. If you do the math on that, and look at like the average price of each coral, you're doing pretty good. Lithuanian fisherman, what are your parameters in your grow-out tanks? Do you do anything out of the ordinary? As far as our methodologies, it's nothing too out of the ordinary. I think the only thing that's different officially, I don't know why I said officially, it makes no sense. The only thing that's really different is that we're running a UV sterilizer, but it's also in a temperature controlled building, not in a greenhouse, blah, blah, blah. So it is in that sense, wildly different than what we were doing out in the greenhouse. Entity 303. Hey, Than. What's the best way to clean up a neglected and get it back up and running as soon as possible? Okay, how to resuscitate a neglected aquarium. Sorry, Amazon just texted me about a package. Okay, they're sending me my deck screws today. Good. I would just start right from the beginning with water changes, and if you have like a substrate, go ahead and get that siphon. Actually, here's the thing. A lot of this, I'm gonna get like all like philosophical here, okay? There is a lot of benefit in simply cleaning your glass. It sounds so like duh, but like here we have a lot of glass tanks. We decided to not go with tubs or anything like that. It is an absolute morale boost to have the tanks with their glass clean. It's hard to explain, but like just looking at clean tanks, just like I said, just the glass itself does wonders. And it completely reframes how you look at a tank, even if it's neglected, even if it's like garbage on the inside, there's like hair algae all over the place, there's cyano everywhere. Trust me, first things first, make your bed, clean the glass, and then start with that. And everything completely disgusting, it sounds like it's time for a siphon and a toothbrush, that sort of thing. If you can, take the rock out, clean it in a bucket with like a heavy brush, like do whatever you need to do. But it's the cumulative cleaning that'll get you there. But start with just cleaning your glass. And it sounds like the most unproductive bit of maintenance because you're not changing anything chemically or anything like that, but it really does wonders. So on like a big shipping day like today, it's the glass on Sunday, so that the guys, when they are putting together their packing lists and everything like that, and looking for the specific corals, are able to see like unfettered aquariums. Like that slight mental edge is a big deal. So that's my rant. I'm like looking at my broadcast. This thing, man. So it was like redlining for a little bit. Now it's like yellow and green. So I guess we might be okay. Whatever. This is a bonus, y'all. This is a bonus. If the stream dies, let me know in chat. I'm so over it. Get it together, YouTube. We've done it once. I think that as we go, we'll do it more. Okay. Yeah, it's working. It's a work day. Flood XL, I completely agree on the clean glass theory. So simple, but it really makes the tank look so much better just doing that. Yeah, and I get that it's kind of like, it's kind of a, not a hassle, but it's like, it's the fact that it has to be done all the time, seeming like every other day, practically. Okay, so I'm looking at this thing, and it says YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Then it says open widget. I'm curious to see what this does. As the error message did. It's like, thanks, YouTube. Sarcastic, seems okay? Good, all right. I'm not gonna focus on it. Figure it out, YouTube. Figure it out. I need Elon Musk to get me on that Starlink beta. Like, I'm signed up for that, dude. If it delivers the upload speeds that it's promising, like gigabit satellite upload speed, I am gonna bounce off this cable connection so fast. I am so done with terrestrial cable. So Adam is asking, do you feel like magician zoas behave differently than other zoas? Most of my zoas grow gradually, but my magicians pop out 4 polyps all at once and then nothing for 6 months. I haven't really paid that close attention to something like that, but I know that there's several different species, obviously, of zoas. And like that magician variety, that really big, fat, polyped guys that, I mean, oftentimes they even get called PALYTHOA, even though they are zoas. Just because they're so big. I mean, they do seem to grow pretty quickly, I would say. I always think that the bigger ones grow faster than the smaller ones. That's just kind of like my little observation there. But the whole stopping growing for 6 months is a little weird. I mean, I have had zoas do that, but it's usually when I introduce them into the tank. It's not like something like where they're growing healthy and happy and then stop. That's not a great sign. Brandon Childress, I'm doing something wrong when I go to the website. I'm not getting the sale prices. Not sure about that. So make sure you're going to the right page. It's tidalgardens.com/live. Okay. Michael Loughton, can you say happy birthday, Layla? Happy birthday, Layla. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Mr. Best Shot. So having said clean glass is awesome, what's your go-to glass scraper? Ever tried a Tunzi scraper? I've not tried a Tunzi. We use the, what are those things called? Just like the handheld metal scrapers. Like Kent makes them, Continuum makes them, some other places, maybe Brightwell. Michael, thanks. My daughter's so happy now. Oh, it's cute. And look at that. Stream health is good now. I did a whole lot of nothing to fix that, right? Gremlins. Got the internet gremlins at work. Yeah, the only problem is like not having enough scrapers in handy places, I think. Because it's such an easy tap. So I used to have magnets everywhere, and I've pretty much only gone to completely just manual scrapers. It's so much faster and it does like a much better job. I'm going to go back into chat a little bit. I missed a few things. Reef Cadet, how much of a concern is palytoxin with zoas? Is it just be careful and most of it is internet hype, or am I going to die for sure? Not to be too morose, but you're definitely gonna die for sure. Unless you're a vampire, at which it's just harder for you to die. Is palytoxin a concern? Yes, it is something you should take seriously. It is very potent. At the same time, it is also really difficult for you to get palytoxin poisoning. So if you're worried about it, take some basic precautions and you'll be just fine. There's thousands and thousands of people that have been just fine without taking said precautions. Having said that, the alternative is also pretty rough. You don't really want to get palytoxin poisoning. But you have to be like downright reckless. So most ZOAs, I shouldn't say most, I don't know, fewer ZOAs have palytoxin. But it's PALYTHOA, thus palytoxin, that tends to have a lot of it. Like, so when you take like a big colony of PALYTHOA, just like hold it, I can feel it just holding it. Like my mouth feels funny, it slimes up, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. I feel gross. I had somebody that had purchased a lot of it from us. This is like, we're talking about like a professional outfit here, okay? This wasn't some naive hobbyist that I sold this stuff to. And they started to saw this stuff up, like through the bandsaw. And they had like a fan blowing across that. And they had people in the upstairs of that building that got sick. They are in the business of this industry. They should know better. But I think they just handed the sawing duties off to like the new guy. The new guy didn't know that you don't do stuff like that. And they ended up like sawing like all this stuff up, and then a whole bunch of people got sick. One guy had to go to the hospital. And that's just from it, going through the air. Don't do reckless stuff like that, and take basic precautions. You should not have any worries. Is it something that I worry about? No, not really. Whatever you clicked really helped. Yeah, I clicked a whole lot of nothing. Rocky's Reef. Any tips on IDing a single head ACAN versus a small Scully? They would look similar, but at the same time, it's like I can just kind of tell. Just from experience, just looking at it. They look similar, but way different enough where it shouldn't be that confusing. Any tips on it? Just get really familiar looking at a whole bunch of different ones online, perhaps, and you'll start to notice like the little subtle differences. And after you kind of get accustomed to that, it'll be really easy to tell them all apart. Tony S. Have you done a RICORDEA care video that I can watch? Your videos are great. We've done like a couple of short RICORDEA videos. They're not terribly new. They might be like several years old and they might be short, but you can do a search. I guarantee if you did just, I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna do it right now. Do it live. If I go to YouTube, I'm very curious. RICORDEA coral care. My video is the first one that pops up. There you go. It is from 7 years ago, so there's that. And it's all of 4 minutes long, so it's probably not quite as in-depth as my more recent videos, but it does exist. Note to self, I should probably do a thing on RICORDEA. I'm going to then also type in mushroom coral care. And there's like a couple of, in the top 10 there's 1, 2, 3, like 4 of my videos or something like that. There you go. What other corals can you think of that can be dangerous? I mean, nothing on the scale of palytoxin. Oh yeah, like a lot of some bad reaction stuff happens because of an allergy. So, for example, big giant carpet anemones are kind of known for this. Some people can have an allergic reaction to them because they have like a powerful enough sting to get through your skin. Like most coral nematocysts, like pretty much everything has stinging cells, right? Like fire coral from the Caribbean can give you like a pretty good sting. But most everything else, like I'm looking at, what am I looking at? Like a Blastomussa merletti, number 89. When that thing stings you, nothing happened, right? It just doesn't matter. But like a big carpet anemone can sting the heck out of you. And most of the time it's like you might get a rash. You might not get anything. It might not be a big deal. But some people with allergic reactions might get a heart attack. It might be really bad. So if you're, I wouldn't recommend it, testing out what you're allergic to. But yeah, there is some potential for people to have some pretty rough reactions. And the worst part about it is, like, healthcare professionals aren't going to know what the heck to do with you, because there is no guidebook to, oh, my underwater plant animal thing stung me. They're going to be like, cool, here's some steroids. That's it. Hope you feel better soon. And here's a bill for like $15,000. That's going to be the long and short of that interaction. And about $2,000 for the ambulance ride. Luis, please help. Will increasing magnesium from 1250 to 1350 help raising my pH? My average pH is sitting at 7.7. I tried opening windows, but it never helps. I never really heard about a connection between magnesium and pH. 7.7 isn't crazy low. It's kind of low. What I might suggest, I don't know how you're managing your calcium and alkalinity, but this is a situation where replacing your top-off water with Kalkwasser might help, because calc is a very high pH and might be able to bring that up. And I think that also people might underestimate the amount of gas exchange that's necessary to really affect your pH. Like, we have probably pretty good pH. I'm gonna check my fancy GHL app here. Shout out to GHL. I still need to set up their director thing, their KH director. But we did get the Profilux set up, and I believe it has a pH probe, if I'm not completely remembering wrong. Let's see. Okay, so we have a pH of 8.2 in our tank downstairs. But when it comes to gas exchange in this building, it's very, very capable. We have 4 different air exchangers going on. So, I mean, if you do a search for HRV or ERV, those are air exchange units that help normalize the temperature of the incoming versus outgoing air, and that will do wonders for your pH. Magnesium is a Lewis acid that will make your pH go down. Interesting. Yeah, and there's something to be said, like what Gabriel just mentioned. It's like, if your stuff is doing well, I wouldn't be in a huge hurry to try to change your numbers. Brandon Childress is like, haha, thank you. I wasn't putting in live. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like trying to see up if there was any other previous comment that I missed. I'm totally missing it. Oh man. Cool. Amazon is texting me again. I'm doing so much buying on Amazon, you guys. It's ridiculous. So I think it's coupled with the fact that I don't really want to go shopping anywhere, number one, and everything is like super convenient, number two. But I have been like, sometimes I'll place like 4 different Amazon orders in like the same hour. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Yeah, I should chill out. I've been doing way too much shopping lately. Oh man. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that I'm kind of excited about getting going, like once the new systems get up and running. I mean, I think that the worst part about it is just the waiting, you know? So right off the bat, I gotta say that I don't blame any of the contractors at all, because after, you know, doing this building now for a solid 2 years, we've gone through like some good contractors, we've gone through some mediocre contractors, and I've like settled into some like great contractors where to me, a great contractor is I don't have to question their work product. Like I know that it's going to be to a professional standard, and like the cost of it, whatever. It's if it's in the ballpark and not completely ridiculous, I get it, right? So I've noticed that the timetable for like the really good contractors is so far off, like far. I was recommending like the one good concrete guy that I know, like somebody else. I was like hanging out with them, and they were looking for a concrete guy, and I said, I know one good concrete guy. After a lifetime of not great ones, there's one good one, and he was taking appointments into late November. Like that's when he could consider starting on your project. It's like late November. That's how far out they are. And pretty much that's the same sort of time frame for my good carpenter, for my good plumber, and for a good electrician. It's like super far out there. And in order to get them in sooner, it's like calling in bribes and stuff like that. Like really, you know, really harassing them because they've been working here for 2 years. Yeah, so the worst part about it is just the kind of the waiting game aspect. But at the same time, we have so many other projects that we're working on here that, I mean, some of this stuff we could probably do ourselves at this point. In a pinch, we could maybe do some of the plumbing. But if there's any hope for us that we could outsource it to a professional, we'll just do that and deal with the timetable rather than trying to force the issue and get it done ourselves. Because there's so much other stuff that we could be working on, and we'll just do that. And whatever time frame happens with the other stuff, we'll just deal with it then. But I guess like the most important stuff that we can do is to make sure that we have everything set up on our end so that when they do come in and start to do their work, that like everything is lined up for them just to get in there and just get it done, you know? So part of it, a lot of it is just kind of like throwing money at the problem, but that's kind of where we're at. Okay, Rocky's Reef is asking, how often would you expect a new head to grow on a favia? On a favia, favias are some of the slowest, absolute slowest large polyp stony corals that we have. Like that, Pectinia, slow, things like that, right? So to add additional heads onto favia, assuming ideal circumstances where it actually is growing at all, it could take months. for that thing to add new heads, which is kind of a bummer because if you've seen our video on like our secret stash of corals, there is a meltdown favia, and I would love to sell more of that stuff, but it's so slow growing. We're just gonna have to wait. I've got several polyps of it, but make no mistake, it is not a fast grower. How much salt mix do you need to fill up all your tanks? Like 100 buckets? No, not that bad. Because like I think that 1,000 gallons is what, 6 buckets or something, and these guys are roughly a couple thousand gallons a piece. The systems, like all of my tanks, we've been pretty efficient on volume. So when we say like, oh, we have 5,000 gallons, or like these new systems are 2,000 gallons. Not every gallon is the same. So there's plenty of places that I've seen that have like a lot more volume than we do. So once we're done, let's say that we're in the ballpark of like 10 to 15,000 gallons. There's places that I've seen that are 50,000 gallons that simply put don't have the sort of coral productivity that we do, because a lot of their volume is just kind of inaccessible, I guess. It's either in sumps or the tanks themselves are like 4 feet deep and they're really only using like the top 6 inches, that sort of stuff. There are some benefits to having like huge water volumes, but at the same time, when you say that, oh, we have a 50,000 gallon facility, it might not be a whole lot different than a much smaller facility. So we're very efficiently using water volume. So to fill up our tanks, yeah, just assume that every 1,000 gallons requires about 6 buckets of salt. It's pretty bad. Is it bad? I don't know. It is what it is. It's salt. Andres, is it bad to dose iodine in a tank that doesn't have any corals, but because it's from Red Sea, it has easy dose by calcium? Okay, not sure what exactly that you're asking, but if you've seen my video on trace elements, I talk about iodine specifically, and as a general rule, I don't like to be dosing stuff that I'm not testing for, and most people don't regularly test for iodine, and iodine being a trace element, it's very easy to overdose on stuff like that. So I would kind of hesitate just a little bit. Moose Multimedia, try a general contractor. It costs more, but do the whole project on one go. So Moose, funny you mentioned that. When we started this project 2 years ago, I thought the guy that I was talking to was the general contractor, but he's not. He was just the builder. I was the general contractor. And I kind of got forced into that role. And for about a good solid 2 years, that was like another job on top of running this company. I was general contractor. Not by good planning. It was just like the builder was like, hey, we need the plumber to get in here and do the underground. I'm like, huh? I'm like, we don't have a plumber. It's like, better find a plumber then. And then that's kind of how this snowballed. It's like, better find an electrician then. Better find a such and such then. And yeah, it's like, turns out that, yeah, I was, I learned that I was a general contractor months into the project. It's great. Mr. Best Shot 33, if you don't mind me asking, how many frags do you think you sell in a week or a month? I have literally zero idea what that number might be. That might be willful ignorance on my part right about now. But when it comes to pricing, inventory, and selling and stuff like that, I leave that entirely to my staff and I don't even bat an eye. Like, seriously. The only time that I ever even pay attention to it is just when I look at our site and I just do like a double check to see if there are things that we have in stock that aren't reflected on the website. Like that activity, everybody has to kind of pitch in towards. It's very, very, very easy for the website to become like a barren desert of nothing for sale. And I'm like, guys, the reason why we're not getting the sales we want is because we're not offering stuff for sale. You can't sell what you are not offering for sale. We are missing this, and this off of our website. But when it comes to like all the pricing and actual like all the actual selling activity, it is all on them. They would have a much better idea than me. I would say that we sell enough to pay the bills around here, which I'm very, very thankful for, all things considered. Yeah, I see you guys are talking about iodine and trace elements. Some people swear by trace elements, but a lot of stuff is obviously a lot of experiences are anecdotal, which is great. That is completely valid that somebody had a positive experience, right? So anecdotal evidence is still evidence. It's just that there's so many variables that it's hard to translate one person's success to another person's success. There's methodologies that some people do with their tanks that I've tried to incorporate into my tanks, and it hasn't turned out right. There's stuff that we do that other folks just won't get away with, like certain degrees of neglect, for example. And it's simply because, 1,000 gallons is different than 100 gallons. Like, volume matters. The length of time that the corals have spent in these conditions matter. Like, for a while there, we had our phosphates at like 1 part per million and our nitrate at 100 parts per million. Would I ever recommend that? Of course not. Those are garbage numbers, right? But those corals had adjusted to that over the course of like a decade. There's some folks that do really, really well with like ultra low nutrient. I've never had good luck with ultra low nutrient. So sometimes when somebody says, oh, I dose such and such trace elements, I'll always take that with a slight grain of salt. If it works for them, it might not translate to you. Like, for example, when I was in the UK, I met, oh God, I can't even name drop properly. The guy that owns D&D Aquatics, David Saxby, right? And he was giving a talk about his very famous large home aquarium that he's got. And he talked about dosing certain trace elements like molybdenum and stuff like that. And I guess he's been like hammering on trace elements for like a good long time, because like I was just overhearing some folks in the crowd saying like, yeah, he's talking about molybdenum again. And that was literally the first time I've ever heard anybody even talk about stuff like that, because it's so kind of like weirdly fringe when it comes to trace elements even. And I remember thinking like, yeah, but that guy's tank is, what's 2,000 liters in gallons? Let me do a quick Google thing, Google Translate for volume. 2,000 liters to gallons. Okay, what? No. It says it's 520 gallons. His tank is not 500 gallons. Hold on, David Saxby tank size. It is, okay, well, this one is in gallons. It is 1,200 gallons. Okay, that's more like it. Because it's like, I know what 500 gallons looks like. That was not 500 gallons. So yeah, his tank, guaranteed, is going to behave rather differently than your tank. So Not to say that David Saxby doesn't know what he's talking about. He might be completely right. Let's just assume that he is completely right, that a lot of his success is down to a lot of these trace element additions. Sometimes fringe details like that don't travel well. Your mileage may vary. Mr. Best Job, buying an LFS in my hometown. Any advice? Bro, I've got no idea. Somebody else in chat will definitely help you out better than me. I have a maintenance company that I've owned for 5 years now. The store I'm buying has been around for 15 years. Yeah, I wish I could tell you anything about having a local pet store, a local fish store. We've never been open to the public. Like that's how fringe, I've been using that word lately, how fringe our operation is. Like I think part of like how we've been able to weather this this storm is that we never relied on walk-in traffic. There's no such thing as walk-in traffic here. Guy wants to start a recording studio. Well, don't blame him for that. Peter's asking, do you have any tank inside your house? No. Real quick, no. That's just not something that's missing from our lives here. Providence Tidal Reef. Trademark infringement. Do you happen to keep any Pacific elkhorn corals? Acropora rotumata. I'm not sure. All of my stuff is frags, so sometimes I don't even know what like the full size colony looks like. Yeah, I know, the doors. No walk-in traffic, yeah, exactly. That was everybody's favorite videographer, photographer there, making all that noise for you. How many other coral sellers do live shows though? One that I know of. It's Kush Corals out of Chicago. They're the only ones that I've ever seen even attempt a live show. And if you guys saw the amount of work that it takes to put one of these things on, it's a lot. It's a lot. There are definitely different ways of doing this. I do it out of habit more than anything. Because I'll tell you what, like scaling this show, it's not going to scale well. At most, we might do maybe 300 corals. It's not going to scale. But it's good interaction, right? You guys enjoy yourselves. You know, I guess in a pinch, when I'm feeling like really in Monday procrastination mode, we can do this hangout. But I see that like the flash sales that we have, once a month, that can scale. Like currently we're only doing like maybe a couple hundred corals for the flash sale, which happens like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But that I'm hoping to scale up to a whole bunch of corals once we have more variety to sell, which we will once we are fully done doing our first round of propagation on the tanks downstairs. It's like a lot of the stuff we have, it's for us, even for this live show, it's a lot of stuff that we just have plenty of, right? But we have some real nice gems that we have to like kind of be patient with and kind of like scale up. So we'll see how that goes. And it's funny, like they're outside right now putting Vaseline on the things. Hey, mom, can you get my mom's attention?
I want to.
I don't. Let's use the industrial stuff next door, not just Vaseline. Ask Ben.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll take care of it. Because that's not the stuff. Mom, stop.
Yes,
That means stop. No. Wrong stuff means you stop using it.
No.
No, it didn't. Chat, did that help? I can. You guys, if you guys heard it, and she's still out there doing it. See, this is what I'm talking about. Nobody listens to me here. So it's funny. Like my parents, they help out here, but to some degree, they're like a force of nature because it's like I can't make them do stuff. Like they do not listen to me. So we kind of have to like everything proof our systems. Like I'll tell them no using the metal scrapers on the acrylic quarantine tanks. A week later, I look over, they're using a metal scraper on my quarantine tanks. I'm like, the hell, man? It's pretty normal. So we have to like put in systems to make it harder for people to mess up. Because yeah, they're gonna do whatever the heck they want. So Insane Reefer is asking, what can cause a Tyree pink lemonade to turn green? And I've had it for a couple of months and it was yellow at first. Anything could happen. When it comes to a lot of like the more exotic acros, they change color for every reason imaginable. Temperature change, lighting change, chemistry change, all of it. Everything will cause something like that to change color. Okay, I got a nice wall hammer piece / frag. How is it going to grow? Up and out or keep the groove growing sideways? Honestly, it is going to grow sideways extremely, extremely slowly. Don't hold your breath. Gabriel Berkey, you just need to put up a sign that requires anyone to enter to answer what is TikTok. No mom will ever enter again. Yeah, I need to put that on this whole building. It's there's like this really funny. I'll tell you a funny dad story. So we're going through this whole thing, right, of like quarantining absolutely everything that comes into this building, right? And Luke is like the most draconian about that. Because even me, I'm like kind of getting impatient with how long I have to wait for some of these things to get through quarantine. And he's like, nope, we got 2 weeks left of quarantine. Nope, we have 2 months, whatever. And so like I tell like my mom and dad and everybody, like, listen, nothing gets into these show tanks without going through quarantine. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not dead rock, nothing. Okay? I see my dad walking from our greenhouse to the new building like this. It's like, what? And so I walk past him like, that was kind of weird. Then I just stop for a second, turn right, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is that? What are you doing? And he's just like, oh, I have some copepods here in my hand that I was gonna put into the systems to seed it. I'm like, stop right there. Absolutely not. Like, no. Didn't we talk about this? Like, nothing goes into those tanks without going to quarantine. And here's the other thing. It's the weird stuff, right? Like, of all the ways to move copepods from one building to another in your hands like this would not be on my top 10 ways to do that. It's like just weird stuff happens here. Like everybody thinks that we're like some kind of like clinically perfect operation. If you had any idea about the goofy stuff that happens here. Goofy. Yeah. So like I said, we have to make systems to reduce the risk of that type of stuff. And perhaps this is something that you guys can do in your own systems. is to make it so that like, so sometimes I get into this little debate with like Ben, for example, like one of the guys here, because I'm like, can we do something to make this more organized? And he'll say something to the effect of, I have no problem with that. I know where the corals are. We don't need to label stuff. I'm like, it's not about you. It's about somebody else that is the first time looking at this that has no clue about where stuff is. Like sometimes when I have to pack stuff, I don't know where stuff is because stuff gets moved around and stuff, right? So they are very familiar with the locations of these things. And sometimes like corals will change color, and something that might have been like bright red is now kind of like maybe a dusky red. And my eyes will go right over it looking for something that's brighter red. So yeah, systems, guys, systems. It's not about you. We know that you know your tank. So one of these days you're gonna have to call in a favor from like a neighbor or brother-in-law, I don't know, to come like, you know, take a look at my tank. And the guy's like, sure, I don't know what I'm looking at. Make it easy for that guy, right? Okay. How many employees do you have at Tidal Gardens? Officially, there are 4 W-2 full-time employees here. And then my parents are just over here all the time. Gosh, I love your honesty. Yeah. I guess it'd be like that sometimes. No, but here's the thing. Like, they help out so much. I can only give them so much grief. But it is funny when they do the weird stuff. Like, it's just... Like, yeah, okay. There's also, like, folks that I have actually paid money to that have also done weird stuff. So it's not just me picking on my parents. Like, one guy, I mean, he would, you know, we would trade for like frags or something like that. And there was like a little fish that was kind of struggling. And so, you know, he said, you know, like, how much for this fish, right? But he put it into like a 4-ounce cup like this. He's like, how much for this fish? I'm like, that's gonna suffocate in about 3 more minutes. Like, who does that? Like, he just didn't know. He didn't know that you need to put, you know, fish in big bags with plenty of air and stuff. Like so sometimes my brain doesn't go to that floor. Like, I can't make up the ways people can do weird stuff to that degree. And I'm like, I didn't know that I had to say something about that, but here we are. Don't do that. There was somebody that used to work here. I gave him the task of doing some photography, and I showed him how to use the tripod. Like this camera here is on a tripod. Like how to extend the legs. I told him that once. The second time that I see him trying to extend the legs on a tripod, he has it like all upside down, and like the head of the tripod is like scraping on like the concrete floor and like causing like permanent damage to this. And I'm just like, hey, so-and-so, that's not exactly how I showed you how to do that. Also, that head that you're scraping up on the ground there is like $1,000. Which is, at the time, probably more than what I paid that guy in a month. So, like, let's stop doing that. And that guy made up more ways to be weird, and he's gone. But yeah, it's stuff. This is what happens when you have a staff, by the way. You kind of have to, like, find good people occasionally. So, which is why Becca is so awesome. It's because she comes from, like, a background of this sort of thing, so I don't have to tell her, don't drop my cinema camera. Like, she kind of knows, right? And and again, I do not take that for granted, because like I said, I've had people that have no concept of how much value that they're holding in their hands. It's like, if you break this, you'll never be able to make it up to me. Like, it's like, I know how much I pay. That's more than your year. Like, you'll never be able to make this up to me. So, anyway. Okay, back to the aquarium stuff. Where's the best placement in the tank for an ultra chalice, like a Bazooka Joe or something? It really depends on your tank, doesn't it? I've noticed that when, like, this is the sort of thing that when given too much light, it goes downhill really fast. So if I'm just like making a recommendation in a vacuum, something not too much flow, not too much light, with an emphasis on not too much light. Because I think that we have a high-end chalice downstairs that was doing great, growing like gangbusters, and I think we just like blast it with too much light, and it's like struggle busting hardcore now. Marcus Aurelius, indentured employees. That's illegal. It's like, it is illegal to dock people's pay for destroying thousands of dollars worth of your stuff. You just have to like kindly, gently get rid of them. This one dude though, like, he was something. His phone was always broken. Like, I mean, it looked like a fake phone by how smashed up it was. It was like more broken glass than it was phone at that point, right? And I'm like, dude, how did you mess up your phone that bad? Like, it looked like you got hit by, it's like it looked like you drove over a landmine or something on your way to work, and then your phone is like completely shattered. And this was, I guess, like his status quo. Like, that's how his phones always are. I'm like, damn. Like, I can understand like you not replacing the phone if like whatever your financial situation might. That's not the point. It's the fact that your phone got that jacked to begin with, right? This guy dropped my phone next. Like, he got done bashing up his phone. He dropped my phone, and my phone was like plugged in. So somehow he knocked my phone so hard that it got knocked off of my desk, off of its charging cable, and smashed onto the floor. Yeah. Not long to stick around here. Let's see. Tattoo Dancer. Holy smokes, that's an expensive MONTIPORA. I think it's already sold. I think like all the... There's like a poorly... Well, it's not a secret. It's just a weird observance that I've had. The expensive stuff sells way easier than the inexpensive stuff. It's just a trend that I'm seeing. Like, sometimes it is way more difficult for us to sell the $10 stuff. Like, when, like, by the way, if we're deep discounting an item down to like between like $8 to $18, right? That's like our discount bin. At that point, what I'm really doing is I'm trying to like buy back space in my aquariums, okay? That's not really making me a lot of money at that point. Just with the time it takes for them to like cut that, glue that down to something, deal with some losses here and there, blah, blah, blah. At some point, it's like we're just moving stuff to make space for other things. That is really difficult to move that stuff. Like, when you really want to move volume like that, it's like, man, why don't people want to buy these $8 corals? I put something up there, item number 155. It's 215 bucks. I bet this thing is sold. Check my lies here. Item number 155. Let's see if it's even here. Go to my live sale here, tidalgarden.com/live. It might be on page 3 or 4. Let's see. 150. It's on page 5. No, it is still available. Okay. My lies don't check out. I was wrong. 154 had sold, but not 155, because there's like a stretch of like expensive acros, and I knew that like at least 2 of them had sold. So yeah, that's where my brain be. Okay, but yeah, like I said, like the really expensive stuff, like going back to that favorite Favia, that Meltdown Favia, that thing sold in an hour. We sold like 3 Acanthophilia, and the cheapest one was probably $2,400. All 3 of those sold the same day we listed them. Like we had, it was kind of uncommon, but we had like, I think, a total of 5 really, really amazing Acanthophilia, okay? There's 2 of them that are still on my site, which you can see in the What You See is What You Get section, right? I think they're like $1,750, okay? The other ones that did sell were over $2,000 something. So like, even amongst like the really expensive, like really, come on, that's a lot of money for a coral. I get it. Even amongst like the really expensive corals, like the most expensive sold first. It wasn't like, oh, like, yeah, I'll inch in at the $1,750 mark. No, they went the full-on $2,500 mark. So I'm like, all right, I guess that's a thing. Yeah, Mr. Bishop, mark up everything 80%. Sorry, I'm catching up on chat. I've been ranting. So thank you guys in chat for helping out Cullen. It sounds like you got him on the right track. Okay, Tommy. This is a good question, because this at some point in time, I think everybody's going to have to deal with like a big move. I'm planning on moving out of state 11 hours away. Any tips for moving a tank that distance? You're not going to like my answer, but this, trust me, is in your best interest. You set up another tank there that's waiting for you. And you kind of just make that trip and get stuff into the new tank that way. Like moving, fully breaking down a tank, getting everything into travel containers and stuff, moving it 11 hours, resetting up a completely new system, and then acclimating your packaged up livestock into that new system is straight up pure nightmare fuel extract. Like, this is how you ruin every relationship with everyone that's around you permanently. Like, I am not even joking about that. I've told this story before, but I had to do that, and I did not have to travel 11 hours. I just had to take down one tank, move it off to the side, put in a newer tank in the same spot, restart it, get everything back in, okay? It took way longer than I thought it would take. And at some point, probably halfway through the process, I called in a favor to a friend. He came over and then he helped me until about midnight. That was 20-something years ago. And to this day, he still talks about that. Like, he talks about that one time he bailed me out. You would think that this guy bailed me out of like a Mexican cartel prison, okay? Based on like how he talks about this. Remember that one time that I saved your life? Yeah, it's like that. So in your situation, what you are describing is awful. Like, I moved aquariums, driving back from Florida back to here, and that was just driving that far was rough. But to actually do a move, nah. No. If you have to, Tommy, sell everything, get rid of everything. Like, don't even have it. Like, before you move, everything is gone. And then you start completely from scratch. That will save your life right there. It's like you might want to do the move, trust me. That's the wrong approach. It's awful. Just the worst. You will hate this hobby forever if you do that. I guess it also depends on the size of the tank. Are we talking like a 20 gallon? Or are we talking like a 200 gallon? I guess I should have clarified. But even a small tank would suck. Yeah, Mr. Best Shot. Sell the new tank complete. Well, yeah, if it's a 20 gallon, especially sell it. Make it go away. Like, don't even pack it. Don't even pack it. Majestic Aquariums had a great tip. Set up a children's swimming pool for all the animals. Yeah. That's if you're in the same location though, right? That's kind of what we sort of did. It wasn't quite that big to have a kiddie pool, but we had like a bunch of different things. It's only 60 gallons, but no. 60 gallons is big enough that you want to liquidate that entirely. Get rid of everything. Yeah, seriously. Completely liquidate that. Better yet, well, no, just get rid of it. I was thinking you could probably even have your friends hold your prized possessions, and then like let's say you have some crazy heirloom quality rainbow chalice or something, or you have some insane Montipora that's like $700 an inch or something, like crazy collection. Let's just say that you've got like the who's who of impressionist artwork going on in your tank. I was thinking, yeah, have your friends hold that and then ship it to yourself when your tank is. No, turn that into money, repurchase it later. Like, you just don't mess with it. Yeah, it might be easier to escape that Mexican prison. Shoot, yeah, at least I don't want to downplay anybody's Mexican cartel experience. But I imagine that's something you can bribe your way out of. Marcus Aurelius 187, I hoard foam boxes. I have like 30 of them. I wouldn't be afraid to move. You should be. Foam boxes leak a lot. A whole lot. You should be very, very afraid. I'm telling you, like a long distance move of a tank that's any size, really, it's no good. It's definitely at its bare minimum is hobby ruining. But hope you didn't like your family, because that's definitely on the chopping block too. Only thing I have that I won't give up is a 7-inch OG bounce. That may be an option. It's a very nice coral, but it's not irreplaceable. I'm gonna throw that out there. It's not irreplaceable. Okay, what number are we on? 171. It's almost lunchtime for me, but I will finish out this set. Yeah, but if you have to do the move with livestock, make sure that there is a tank ready to go. Like, it is up and running, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be cycled. It's just get the bags into the water, temperature acclimate them, and get going on that. But to then, after an 11-hour trip, to then move a tank into a location would suck. Like, after our very long trip from Florida to Ohio, we just like parked the trucks and everybody went to bed. Everybody went home, did their thing. But no, you're not going to then do work to get that installed. Don't do that. Lewis, have you ever heard that keeping a lot of pulsing xenia will help reduce nitrate? I have not heard that. I guess theoretically, having a lot of any coral would reduce nutrients because, yeah, I mean, they do require nitrates and stuff. Probably not the most effective way to do it. Yeah, Moose Multimedia moved a 20-gallon tank 1 hour away to a tank already set up and still had losses. Yes, travel is very, very, very stressful for everything involved. There's no guarantees when it comes to travel and shipping especially and all that stuff. It's always a risk. I'm just checking my emails real fast because I see something from MACNA. I'm wondering if they've pushed back the date again. So technically, guys, MACNA is happening in a month. Is it an online thing now? It says August 20th to 30th, Phoenix Rising online. Do you guys know anything about this? I kind of assumed that like larger shows in person aren't exactly gonna be a thing. But maybe they're doing some sort of online thing. But attendance to MACNA is not exactly free. So I wonder how that's going to play out. Gabriel, thanks for the show. Taking off. Thanks, Gabriel. Thanks for hanging out. Good to have you. So PMK, I'll type it in here at PMK. Go to that linko, and that will take you to the place where you can do the purchasing. Hillbilly Reefer, pretty cool, Dan. Love surprise live shows. Wish I was off work. Hate missing a bonus. Well, when this thing, I mean, once it syndicates, you can check it out on the replay. MACNA's charging $30 for all the talks. Whoa, gotcha. Yeah, MACNA's a digital conference this year, if I understand correctly. Yeah, I live in New York, and you couldn't pay me to go there with all this crap going on. Funny you mentioned that, Marcus Aurelius, because I think there is a show that was paying me to go. They've pushed it all the way back until next year sometime, and I'm just like, on one hand, I hate flaking out on my commitments. I hate it. Like, I do not want to be that guy. Also, when I made such and such commitments, we were living in a slightly different world than we are now. And I had a different idea of what it is to get on a plane. So we're gonna have to revisit that. Now, I've already told the event organizers, like, guys, I don't know what I feel about this. If you happen to find another speaker that can take my spot, do that, please. But if push came to shove, I will show up. But not my comfort zone. Not my comfort zone. PMK got some really nice ZOAs last month. Looking for something wavy today. Nice, nice. Yeah, I think we've got some things that might fit the bill, like certain Ganyaporas and stuff like that would be kind of cool. Tommy, I was thinking about having an LFS waiting to help me set it up after I arrive. Maybe I can have them set up something for me to make it easier. Yeah, whatever that costs will help. I'm gonna say that COVID counts as force majeure and you're not flaking. Yeah. I don't think I could make up a more messed up thing that might throw a wrench into your plans. Obviously, since this particular show had to now reschedule twice. Yeah. I mean, I've had to cancel so many plans, you guys. It's not even funny. And by the way, I'm low-key not that cool with the fact that a lot of places I want to go won't let me in. So I'm not going to take that all personally and stuff, but kind of throws a hamper on certain things. It's like, not only did I have to cancel travel plans, but it's like, oh, and until things change, you can never travel to that place. Cool. But yeah, as far as like a speaking fee, it's like, you know, maybe, okay, cool, I didn't have anything else to do that weekend, was, you know, one thought. But now it's just like, for me to get on a plane and go to someplace now, let's just say that, you know, that commitment aside, whether or not it's flaking or not, ignore that. But let's say such and such place wanted me to attend a public event, meaning I have to like get on a plane, stay in a hotel, all that fun stuff. I'm like, we are not talking about 4 figures. We're not talking about 5 figures for me to even consider that. Like, anything less than that is a hard non-starter. Like, no, I'm perfectly okay staying home. Thank you. No, absolutely not. Yeah, by the way, flights are cheap. I saw a flight to one of the locations, round trip on American Airlines or United. No, this one was American Airlines. It was $77. Yeah, beat that, right? And now people are saying okay, so I should ask some of my people that actually travel, but I've heard that it takes a long time to board a flight, like an extraordinarily long time. So at some point, there has to be like a range, a travel range where it makes sense to drive. I think for me that range might be 6 hours, meaning like from here, New York or Chicago. That radius. If you're within New York or Chicago, I should really strongly consider driving rather than flying, even if it takes me 6 hours each way. Okay. So I'm going to answer some questions out of order. K-Dub, fan, what is the easiest SPS in your opinion? LEPTOSERIS. Might not be your favorite SPS, but it is very easy. By the way, live show's almost over. We've got only a few corals left. So get your questions in last second. Dante Dizon, I have a 120 gallon, 40 sump, 80% SPS. Will calc water sufficiently enough to accommodate the calcium pH and alkaline, not to mention magnesium? Probably not. So it depends on your evaporation rate as to how much calc you can even use. Your best bet is to test frequently and see for yourself how that goes. Also, it depends on the size of these colonies that we're talking about. If you're talking about massive sized SPS, I would have a hard time thinking that calcluster alone will be sufficient. Josh Hudak, is there a major benefit to switch from a hobbyist to a business in terms of buying product in corals? Real talk, no. Straight up no. The amount that you would have to purchase at my level, let's say, in order to have anybody pay any attention to you is extreme. Extreme. You would be way better off paying retail. It's to the point where, like, for me to purchase fish, for example, it's actually borderline makes sense for me to pay retail rather than mess with wholesale. Paying retail, buying locally, even though it's like, who knows, triple, there's a good argument that it might be worth it. Lumpy Jerk, I love chalices but never see any for sale. We are working on our chalice collection. I think we've been thin on the variety of chalices for some time, but that is something that we are looking to build up on. H. Scott flew from Virginia to Michigan and back, and everything went fairly smooth, no real delays at all. That is good to know. The idea of getting into a plane doesn't fill me with the greatest feelings in the world. And by the way, I'm not talking about like, oh man, like I'm so nervous on flights, I need to get boozed up. Like, dude, I am like a professional traveler, okay? I mean, I've got like flippin' global entry here, if I can get it out of my wallet, which I can't. I've got like freaking global entry. This is like how much I travel, right? I paid the extra bucks to get through international security faster. So no, it's just this, like the whole mask thing and all that stuff. It's like, do I have to wear a freaking scuba suit with me onto a plane? It's like, is that what we have to do here? So anyway, not looking forward to that just yet. So yup, we're almost done here. I'm kind of getting hungry because it's almost 1 o'clock. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the impromptu live show. I actually probably have to go do some actual work that involves my attention. Hope you all had enjoyed a good weekend. Got your Monday started a little bit smoother than I got my Monday started, preferably. But anyway, thank you guys for attending. Like I said, live show is going to go on for maybe like a day or two more. You guys can pick and choose out of what's remaining. And yeah. Hope you all had fun. So anyway, I think it is this is the last coral. It's our Teal Elegance, which I don't even know if it's still available. I don't know. But I hope to get some more videos in the works here. I've got a renewed sense of purpose when it comes to like making some more video content for you guys. So stay tuned for that. And I shall see you all next time. 5 seconds. All right, guys. Bye.